That's why if you sit in a chair all day, your brain gets that message and goes, okay, we're going to turn you into a chair. Apparently this is really important to you. And you know, you keep sitting in the chair and your brain's like, are you sure this is what you want? And then you keep sitting in the fucking chair and the brain's like, okay, let's shorten up those hip flexors. Let's tighten those pecs. We're going to make it as easy and efficient as possible for you to be some sort of odd like T-Rex monster who only has thumbs.
Hey fitness fans, welcome back to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. This is your host, Eric Malzone, and this is episode number 77. Sevens happens to be my lucky number. So this is double lucky because I have Max Shank on the show. So we had a very in-depth conversation. I wouldn't say you're going to get a lot of exact granular things on what to do in your life, but you're going to get a ton on how to approach life, how to approach business, how to define success, which is really, really important in what we do because we have the opportunity as fitness professionals to make tremendous impact on the people that we work with. So it's just an all-around awesome conversation, in my opinion, of course, because I'm part of it. But you'll get a lot out of it. And Max has seen a tremendous amount of success at a relatively young age within the fitness profession, and it's well-deserved. The guy is a smart cat, very, very much so. So without further ado, let's get into it. One call to action for you is if you are on Facebook and you want to be part of a conversation that is modernizing the industry, go check out our closed Facebook group. It's free. It's called the Modern Fit Pro. Great network of over 2,000 professionals from all over the world. Go check it out. There's an application for it. So once you fill it out, I'll check it out and I will most likely let you in if you fill it out completely and honestly. And that's it. So without further ado, let's go on to Max Shank, number 77. Enjoy the show. Max Shank, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we just, it's funny because we just had an amazing conversation and I didn't hit record. So we're going to do it all over again, but we're going to do it better.
Yeah, no one will ever hear all that magic that we had.
Yeah. So here's, I'm actually going to start the story. I know I'm interviewing you, but I'm going to start the story.
Cool. So do I have to listen?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, you're fine. I'll mute you actually.
Perfect.
I talk and I'll let you know when it's your turn. And so I think it was 2014 circa. I was in a Strength Matters Summit, right? And I was sitting there and I basically, James Fitzgerald was presenting. I follow that guy everywhere he goes. And I was sitting there, I was sitting next to a young guy who's kind of a kettlebell guy. And then, this guy walks in the back of the room and it was you. I'm not going to spoil the story. This guy's like, holy shit, it's Max Shank. Right. Michael. And so this is like, I just started, I'm Googling on my phone, I'm like Max Shank. I'm like, oh, and I was, one of the stories, I was very impressed. I didn't know at that point who you were, but then I started following and then I started listening. I started seeing your name pop up on podcasts. Obviously I'm a big podcast fan. So you've done a lot, man. And I'm impressed that, just talking to you now, 13 years in the industry, which is, not unsubstantial, but not super long, and 9 years of facility management ownership. You've made such a great impact, man. I mean, it just seems like I'm amazed just in our conversations how enlightened you seem with life, right? And I'm curious, like, where did that come from, man? Because you don't seem like a relatively older guy, right? But you have a lot of life experience, and what's up with that, man? Where does that come from? Where do you get it? Any reason for that?
I'm really glad we started with a softball question like this. So I think it comes down to probably just a couple points. Number one, my mission in life, if you want to call it that, is to help other people live a little bit better. So everything I do is basically related to that. I think life is already a total blast as it is. I don't need to go try to like double my money trying to do just figuratively. I mean, I'll double my actual money. That's always a fun time. But just generally speaking, I get so much enjoyment from helping people improve their ability to communicate with their surroundings. Because communication, it's verbal like you and I are doing. It's nonverbal like posture. And it's also even more nonverbal like how you actually interact with the ground, how you interact with other objects in your life. And your physical capacity is going to be the thing that determines that. So as someone who has gone from fat to very athletic to so broken I was actually bedridden and back, it showed me from a firsthand perspective the drain that it can have on your soul when you don't feel physically capable. You know, you have got a lot of people right now who are essentially prisoners in their own bodies. And I like that I can influence that in a positive way with really simple things. So I really enjoy that. So I have like a strong and powerful reason why. As far as the let's call it wisdom, perhaps.
Yep.
I got a job when I was 12, and I've always had some sort of job. And I think one of the most important things a human being can do is provide value that is congruent with their consumption. So I have this idea or this theory that you need to have a balance between your contribution and your consumption. And right now, a vast majority of the population live in a hyper consumption imbalance, and they're not contributing. And social media can influence this a little bit as well. But I think at the end of the day, whatever you're doing, you have to contribute a little bit more than you consume. Otherwise, not only are you a literal drain on the society, but also you kind of tend to feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like it's not that fun. The other thing is I have given myself permission to spend a lot of time alone in contemplation of things and really sitting back and reflecting, because there's no quick fix to meditation, right?
No.
You just got to sit down or lay down or balance on a beam and do the thing. You know, one of the things I did recently is I took myself on a silent retreat, and it was brilliant. I did 3 days in the woods, no electricity, no phone, no reading, no writing, no music, like literally zero stimulus, but me out in nature. And, you know, every night I just, you know, make a fire. It's that simple. And I didn't go bananas. I rented an Airbnb, like out in the middle of nowhere. So it was still, I didn't have to necessarily worry about like, oh, where am I going to stay? It was just like, no, you wake up, you move around, you walk, you think. And it was especially important because I wanted to not, because I've done a lot of writing. Like I was telling you before, I've written 3 books at this point, and you know, we'll see when another one kicks out here. That's always the funny thing too, right? But I didn't want to give myself that out of turning this 3-day retreat into just me writing. I wanted to be alone with my thoughts 100%. And rather than be like, ooh, I thought of this, write it down, I wanted to come away with what was the actual most important thing. Because if you come away with like a general sense of what's most important, you have something really tangible there. But if I had spent 3 days like scrawling notes out, how am I going to prioritize? So I think a lot of it is just, you know, honoring yourself and giving the gift. The biggest gift you have is your time and your attention. And so often we take our time and our attention and we piss it away and give it to other people. And I think it's really good to give your time and attention to someone in a caring and constructive way. But I think once again, we go back to the contribution and consumption gap. And, you know, I guess that's basically it. You know, I've seen the whole spectrum of what physical and mental health can do or destroy in a person.
Yep.
And I think, you know, my life philosophy is really simple: enjoy the ride and help other people enjoy the ride better, and that's it. I don't think anything else makes sense.
Yeah, and simple's the best. And, you know, I was telling you earlier too. You know, my wife and I have been on the road in one way or another for 12 months. You know, we picked up and left Santa Barbara, and one of the things I didn't really expect was the amount of time I have to think, which is just a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's no like, I don't have any. Where I go, I make friends easily, so I'll pick up a friend there or something like that. But most of the time, it's just thinking. And man, the shit that you start to like, the clarity that you get if you just take some time from the grind right? And just do any.
Totally.
Nature's like the most amazing shit ever, right? I mean, it's the most amazing thing ever. And,
it's a really great TV show.
Yeah.
Nature is the best TV show.
It is. It is. It's interesting too. My old business partner when I owned the gym, Traver Boehm, he went through a very difficult time, and then for reasons really probably only Traver knows, he decided to do a dark retreat. Are you familiar with these? So
No.
21 days. He went to Guatemala, and he did 21 days in a dark room.
Weird.
And
what other stimulus?
That's it, man. He had a notepad where he could write. They would feed him. They would slide him a meal under a door, right?
Wow.
Like twice a day. And when I talked to him about it, he's like, "Yeah, I just started writing. Like none of the stuff I was writing really made sense." And I still haven't got out of him. Like, what did you get out of it? I want to know. But I don't think there's a point to it. I think he just went in there and dealt with his shit, and then came back out.
Let it go.
I don't know.
There are a lot of ways that you can give yourself therapy. I think that that's one of the biggest problems that we have in this country is people go looking to other people for help. I think it's important to feel comfortable asking for help. That's kind of a separate problem.
Right.
But there are so many awesome options available to help you deal with any kind of trauma that you're dealing with. And trauma comes in many forms too, right? It doesn't have to be like something physically horrific happened to you. It doesn't have to be like, your parents never hugged you. I mean, there are so many different levels, you know what I mean? And you can deal with those in such a wide variety of ways. Maybe all you need to do is exercise every day for 30 minutes and you'll feel 10 times better. Maybe all you need to do is get rid of your TV and stop watching cable all the time. Maybe all you need to do is stop watching the news because it's fucking depressing.
It's awful. Yeah. But do you think when we talk about people's trauma, and this is one thing I've noticed in my contemplations, right, is that when we have a major trauma, we ask for help, right? There's all these
sometimes,
right?
Yeah.
I think you're more likely to, but we have all these little traumas that we deal with, whether it's like, being in a relationship where it's stressful, right? It's just micro little things that build over time.
Totally. Yeah, it still counts.
No one asks for that. It still counts. And
exactly.
What you need to do is like, if people are listening to this, you're like, yeah, I got that going on. It's okay. Like you can still get help for little shit that you don't think is worthy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No.
So anyway, that's
totally agree.
My thoughts on trauma. So, people listening to this are most likely fitness professionals, I would imagine. And they look at someone, we were talking before about how, you've worked, you got yourself to a point where you have a lot more freedom in your lifestyle, right?
Oh yeah. It's great. I got, my measure of success right now is, do you have an open calendar and how much time do you have to spend in front of a screen?
Right.
And for me, like, I don't really have appointments in my calendar unless I want them. And I don't look at a screen unless I want to. And that's my measure of success. And I feel really liberating because it gives you that opportunity to start thinking like what we're talking about. The top of the pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is self-actualization. Right. So the only way you can get there is spending a lot of time with yourself actually focused on that. It's incredible.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to get that? Because your own personal definition of success is huge, right? If you can find out what that is, and it's probably going to like 5 years from now, if I call it Max, he may be like, I can split it up a little bit, or a month, who knows?
The definition I had forever was, if you're not complaining, you're successful.
It's that easy.
I think it still works.
It does. Yeah. I always like to say my definition of success is a life not needing vacation, right? Like if I feel like, if you're saying, I'm like, God, I just got to get away. Well, then something's off balance, right? You're pushing too hard in one direction.
Big time. It kind of relates back to what we were talking about before, how people are always racing towards some imaginary finish line.
Right.
Whether that's the finish line being the end of your workout, whether that finish line is Friday afternoon, whether that finish line is retirement, or, even all those children's books that end and they lived happily ever after. Everything is kind of like pushing people toward this ethereal idea of some finish line that doesn't even fucking exist. And it's kind of what I think keeps people going. It probably is kind of similar to the idea of heaven, right? You have people who are let's say, tolerating what under normal circumstances would be like, oh, this is stupid bullshit. Why am I tolerating this?
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, I just got just until Friday afternoon, if I can just make it to Friday. And they're like, oh, well, I fucking hate this job, but it pays the bills. So if I can just make it for another 40 years and then retire, I'll hit, so it's all these like, and then I'll be happy. And the more you start doing that, instead of enjoying the process of what you're doing, I think you die a little bit inside every time.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. If I'm, I'm a fitness professional who's out there, and, I'm like, well, I'm not Max Shank, right? I haven't written 3 books. I don't have a successful, gym and online practice and all that. I can't afford those luxuries. What do you say
Totally
to that cat?
Neither could I. When I was 21 years old and I started my business, I had no money.
Yeah.
Like, what I would say though is, when it comes to finances, you're in one of 2 categories. Either you have enough money that you can start saving and investing, or you don't have enough money that you can start saving and investing. And if you don't have enough, you need to get realistic with yourself about what your actual bills are that are necessities versus luxuries. And then if you're a trainer, you got to fall in love with the process, and you got to be training people. Like, I still train people, not because I have to, but because I want to. And I probably do an even better job than I did before, because now it's not even, I love this and I need money. It's just, I love this. So I think if you're a coach out there, make sure you actually love coaching. I see a lot of people who are coaches who they just like exercising. So just fall in love with the process of coaching, and that's already the reward. That's one of the advantages of being in the fitness industry. And that's why I have such a high amount of respect for the field that we're in, because I think it's a really important field. I think it's a very important profession, because the difference you can make in a person's life by helping them become more physically free, feel like less of a prisoner in their own body, that will make you feel good.
Yeah.
I heard somewhere that the only way to reduce your own suffering is to assist the suffering of others. I heard that somewhere. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like, I think it was a friend of mine. Oh, I know what it was. There's a book with the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu, and I haven't read the book. My friend read the book, and he told me that story from the book. And they were saying, like, basically the only way you can truly ease your own suffering is to help others with their suffering. And that's kind of the whole process. And, you can take that with a grain of salt, but it does point back to enjoy the ride and help out everybody else.
Yeah. I agree. And it's interesting. I mean, I'll just give a personal anecdote today, because it's so fresh in my mind. Is my mom will be 80 in August. So next month or a month from now. And she's been pretty inactive, right? And she's had a couple of things now that have made her really sedentary. She said, had a cast on her leg, and that's, dude, for an 80-year-old, that's brutal, right?
Yep.
And, when she has all these, when I talk to her, she's like, Eric, I want to travel. I want to do these things. I'm like, Mom, you gotta physically be active. Like,
right.
I will take you to Italy. Right. But
right.
you got to start doing some things and getting. And my dad called me today. He's like, Eric, the strangest thing happened. Your mom got on the exercise bike. He's like, I've never seen her in 50 plus years of marriage get on an exercise bike. I was like, oh, how amazing is that? Right. That's
beautiful.
It's a story, except that it's not too late, even at 8, to start like really moving towards some action,
Oh my God. It's wonderful. And it actually proves what we were talking about earlier. If you want to do something, you got to start with a powerful reason why. Yeah. So before you, teased her with the idea of Italy, she's like, exercise is important, but she didn't really believe exercise was important because it wasn't important to her.
Right.
And when it comes to goal setting, I have this great phrase that helps me cut through my own bullshit that works so well.
Yes.
So I go through this process, right? Dan Gable, Olympic gold medal wrestler, total stud, said, if it's important, you do it every day. And I'm like, I like that. That's a good idea. That's why you do a 5-minute flow every day, right?
Right.
Now, if I say that something's important, but I'm not doing it every day, then I have to tell myself the phrase, It's not important enough yet. Now, the reason this is so powerful is it doesn't punish me for being a bad person. It's not like, oh, I guess I just suck. Like it's not that. It's very constructive. And actually there's a great talk if you search YouTube on the power of yet. And it's this great thing by Angela Duckworth. And she talks about how they changed the grade of fail in these very low performing urban schools to not yet. And all of their abilities skyrocketed. So they just changed fail to not yet. Literally, just substitute out the word fail for not yet, because not yet gives you possibility. Not yet also reinforces the idea that things take time.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Yeah.
So when I say to myself, and I do this with my mastermind group also that I have for business, and I go, like, okay, what's important? And they're like this. I'm like, are you doing it every day? They're like, no. So, well, it's not important enough yet, but it can be. You just have to choose to make it important enough.
Yeah.
And it's not there yet. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, I'm sure you're familiar with Carol Dweck mindset.
Oh yeah. That's actually, I think where Angela Duckworth got that idea about a grit, right? She talks about grit.
Yeah. Her particular thing is a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. Right?
Yes, that's what it is.
And if you like, for example, if you are a parent, I'm not, but I would, if someone, your kid has a shitty baseball game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or even better, your kid has an amazing baseball game. Instead of saying to them, you're so talented, you're amazing.
Oh man, that's the worst thing you can do.
Congratulations, you worked so hard for that.
It's so true. And actually, man, I was thinking about that and talking about that with someone just this afternoon before I hopped on the phone with you. There's nothing worse you can do to a kid than to tell them that they're smart and strong and fast and all these things, because as soon as that natural ability runs out, they're going to have to rely on grit. And if they haven't been taught and positively reinforced with the time they invest into it, instead of being positively reinforced for the state that they are in, they're going to be totally total pussies when it comes to any difficult thing in life.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. That's one of the reasons I think it is a good idea to make kids learn some music when they're young. And make is a really weird word. I probably wouldn't even say it that way, but music is one of those things where you can't fake it. You either can play it or you can't play it. Mm-hmm. Doing pull-ups is something you either can or you can't. And I really like things like that. That's why I like fitness and music so much, is because they're very honest. You don't just stumble upon being able to do a handstand typically. You don't just stumble upon being able to play Moonlight Sonata, for example. It takes time and energy investment. And until a person sees the direct correlation between the amount of time and energy they invest and the result that they get, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah. It's this interesting observation. So in the last 9 months, actually, I've interviewed over 200 different fitness professionals from all different.
Oh man, nice job, dude.
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Good work.
How much I learned, and people say thank you. I'm like, no, thank you. I just learned so much, right? But I've noticed this thing is like people who were fat kids seem to have something about them, right? Like they went through this, they realized like, it just, their body wasn't just gifted to them, right? This the aesthetics or the function, right?
Yep.
There's this, I should probably write a book on why being a fat kid is cool, right? At least not anymore like
totally.
that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's
I understand what you're saying.
Challenge at an early age. It's really interesting to me.
I think that if you're fat or ugly or awkward or whatever when you're young, it forces you to develop other characteristics. Yeah. And that's kind of the plain and simple thing. When I was in high school, I had teeth pointing every which way and bad acne, and I didn't know how to talk to girls and all that stuff, the standard thing. So I was like, let me be funny. Yeah. Let me develop a personality that people like.
Yeah.
So you end up, you flow. You find your way into something else really constructive, and that's, I think, maybe the one one of the most important keys to life is you don't beat yourself up, or you don't feel like you don't lament the situation you're in. You just go, okay, good, now what?
Yeah.
And that's it. Good.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. I love it. And when I was young in 8th grade, we had a yearbook, right? I had 2 awards that I got. One was, I was chubby. I was the kid they put in center, put in the goal in soccer because they couldn't be mobile. And, so I got best personality, which I was like, okay, well that makes sense because I was a chubby kid. Second one I got was best dressed, which is really funny because we all wore uniforms, right?
That's hilarious. That's really funny that they even give that award at a school with uniforms.
Yeah.
What message are they trying to convey with that? That's hilarious. Who wore it best?
Yeah.
Like literally, who wore it best? Because it's all the same thing.
It was the turtleneck underneath in the winter that I think. Yeah.
Nice.
I think that was the one.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
man, that's good.
I got a big question. I mean, this podcast is called Future of Fitness, right? So we talk about that. Normally I get into tech, and we can get into that if you want.
Sure.
But I think you have a really interesting view of like the core of what fitness and health should look like, and hopefully is progressing towards. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I like to think so.
What's that?
I like to think so.
Yeah. Well, like, where is this whole thing heading? Like, what is the evolution of the fitness professional going towards? Because, dude, in my opinion, and just from where I sit and what I see, it's an industry that's so undervalued for the most part, right? I mean, we're really at the front lines of all the fucking major issues: chronic disease, obesity.
Totally.
People still walk into our facilities and be like, hey, can I get a 20% discount? Or,
of course.
And I don't see that happening at doctors' offices, right? I don't see that happening.
True.
Any very, very,
sure.
People don't do that to attorneys. So I'm curious, when you look at the role of the fitness professional, how do you see that evolving? How do you hope it's going to evolve?
I hope that the future of the fitness professional is one that's highly interactive with the people that they're coaching, especially in a one-on-one situation. I think there's going to be hopefully a resurgence of, and there has been already, of one-on-one coaching. Everything went really heavy into group classes. And there are a lot of advantages with the group classes, like the sense of community and accountability that you get from that. But you also get the side benefit of having potentially too many people in a class, instructors who don't know what they're doing. There are a lot of gyms that spend more time teaching their instructors to be motivational actors than actual coaches.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an interesting situation. But I think the future of fitness really comes down to giving people simple little things they can do throughout the day to make it so there's less of a negative stigma associated with moving around just generally throughout the day. Yeah. It's I heard this great joke from Jerry Seinfeld. He goes, being an adult is the ability to be totally bored and remain perfectly still. and so when I'm out in public and I see everyone's just sitting quietly or they're standing quietly, and I'm doing calf raises, I'm balancing on one leg, I'm moving around a little bit, and people think I'm a total nut job, but I think they're way crazier.
Yeah.
For not like moving around. It's kind of like you have a total underappreciation for your physical body by just letting it sit stagnant forever. I think the most important things from a fitness perspective to focus on are to have fun and be safe. So if you enjoy the process, that's what we come back to, right? If you enjoy the process and you don't hurt yourself, those are the two biggest barriers. I see everything in terms of like behavioral psychology at this point. It's all about habit formation. How do you get people to remain safe? Or how do you get people to remain consistent, I should say? Because consistency is where results come from. Yeah. Despite what you read in the magazines, like, add 12 inches to your arms in 7 minutes, or lose 50 pounds of fat in one day.
Yeah.
And, unless you're a surgeon, that shit's just not going to happen. You got to be in it for the long game. And the only way to stay in it for the long game is don't get bored and don't get injured. It's really that simple.
Yeah.
If you have fun and you're not hurt, you're going to continue doing the thing. That's all. So everything I do related to fitness is building that base where everything is safe and then making it fun. And that's what it needs to come back to. You know, more partner exercises, more human interaction. I was talking about this with someone today. Adults don't really touch each other that much unless it's sexual, especially guys. And I think that makes us a lot less close to one another. That's why everyone's acting all tough all the time. I mean, I did the same thing when I was 20. I was like, I just wanted people to think I was like tough and strong. And I'd like stand with my freaking arms crossed and show people how big my forearms are and be like, oh, yeah, don't fuck with me. I'm tough.
Forearms.
I do. They're gigantic. I train grip like all the time. It's great. But the whole idea of like just being like this tough person, it's like killing men inside. I mean, I avoided anything artistic because me and my peer group believed that art and music and dancing were for fairies. Now I sing and dance and play music and, you know, paint my tits off every single day. And it's a blast. And just something like that, where you can get people laughing and playing, that's going to be huge. So whoever can really like nail down making the experience really enriching and rewarding is who's going to win, because there are so many things that sort of work. Here's a cool thing. Everything works. Everything works. Whatever you do, your body's going to be like, okay, I got the message. Oh, we're going to do a lot of this? Okay, we'll adapt you to get better at that. Mm-hmm. That's why if you sit in a chair all day, your brain gets that message and goes, okay, we're going to turn you into a chair. Apparently this is really important to you. And you know, you keep sitting in the chair and your brain's like, are you sure this is what you want? And then you keep sitting in the fucking chair and the brain's like, okay, let's shorten up those hip flexors. Let's tighten those pecs. We're going to make it as easy and efficient as possible for you to be some sort of odd like T-Rex monster who only has thumbs.
Right.
And whatever you do, your body will adapt to it. This is like neuroscience 101, neuroplasticity. Your brain will hear whatever you do loud and clear, and it will adapt you to it. And that's why I think it's so important to do things daily instead of, I mean, there are all these clever fucking ways that people come up with to split up exercises. And really all it comes down to is, can you manage your energy levels well? Right? I mean, you don't, does it matter if you do, 5 sets of 7 or 6 sets of 7? Like that much? Really?
Yeah.
And no, it doesn't. And there are so many examples of people who just keep it really simple and do well. You know, Herschel Walker, just eating push-ups and sit-ups for breakfast every freaking day, running up hills every day. Now, he most likely also is a just ridiculous athlete naturally. Yeah. But he is working every day on those basics. And I noticed in myself that I was becoming a fitness snob. I was like, I was at a point where I wasn't doing any simple exercises. It was like Olympic lifts, heavy deadlifts, heavy bottom up presses, heavy pull, like everything had to be like advanced because that's where I was at. I was like, oh, I'm advanced now. Yeah. Doing 10 push-ups isn't going to do anything for me. Guess what? It absolutely does something for you. Yeah. And the more often you can do 10 push-ups, even if you can do freaking 100 of them, the better off you're going to be. So there's this whole idea that exercise needs to be inside of a workout too. And, you know, I do less workouts than I have in my entire life, and I'm in better shape than I've been in my entire life because I just choose to take advantage of the little moments between moments, like those little in-betweens, and bang out a set of push-ups. You know, and you come up with these little games and rules for yourself. You know, if I start to get a little bit cold and I think, oh, I'm going to put a shirt on, I almost never wear a shirt. You caught me like one of the rare times where I'm wearing a shirt. I would say that 90% of every day, 90% of the time I go an entire day without putting a shirt on. which I think is also a good measure of success.
Yeah, man, that's congratulations for doing that.
Thank you.
Making that.
Oh, dude.
Tremendous. Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's great.
So
if I,
pants, just to let you know, I never, so
you know
I'm not
what?
wearing any pants right now.
I don't want to try to be a know-it-all, but I had a feeling.
Yeah.
So I have this rule. If I start to get cold, instead of putting a shirt on, I will vigorously shake out a really big blanket for 1 minute and see if I'm actually cold or if I'm just really sedentary right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
while something like that doesn't seem that significant, maybe at the end of a year, I've done 100 extra minutes of high intensity, essentially battling ropes.
Right.
That's got to factor in somewhere. You know, all that stuff adds up. So I think getting out of the idea of like fitness snobbery and going back to just getting those basics really consistent. People ask me all the time, do you warm up much? And I'm like, yeah, I warm up, but I don't have to very much because I just move more throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the warm-up exercises require no equipment whatsoever. So you just kind of start to make those a part of your life. And that's that big secret, right? Where you go from fitness needing to be as efficient as possible. Like, okay, what's the 5-minute workout that I can do that's going to get me great results? Or what's the 20-minute workout that I can do that'll get me great results? That's not it. The holy grail is when you're like, I don't care how long it takes. I just enjoy this. Like, this is just fun. It's like you were saying with skiing. You know, I bought a one wheel. Have you ever seen those?
No.
It's an electric skateboard with one fat wheel in the center and a gyroscope.
Yeah.
And so it's got a motor in it. Thing goes 20 miles an hour.
Whoa.
And yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So it's got a little gyroscope in it. You lean forward, it goes faster. You lean back, it slows down. And I ride that thing every day. It's so much fun. It requires no willpower whatsoever.
Right.
And, you know, there are some people out there in the world who can do stuff that they only kind of want to do because they have really strong willpower. But man, that's not going to work for most people. Like I listen, you know who Jocko Willink is?
Yeah.
Navy SEAL guy.
Yeah. Extreme ownership. That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great book. I think he's a really awesome dude. I know some of his friends. I've never met the guy personally, but I like his stuff. And I also think that there are a lot of people out there who have no business trying to emulate that way of being.
Yes.
Because it'll just destroy them.
Yeah. He's the 4 a.m. wake up at 4 a.m. every day guy, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And waking up early definitely works. If you feel like rushed, wake up a little earlier.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
However, if you're relying on willpower for something like your workout, you're doing the wrong workout.
Yeah. And I think you just touched on something so powerful too, at least impactful to me.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes a lot of willpower, something's going on, right?
Right.
I think the best thing I've done for my fitness in the last 6 months is actually, and it's going to sound strange to most, but it won't to you, is I cancel my gym membership.
Cool.
All I have is a kettlebell. That's it. And I have a kettlebell and I have a beautiful green lawn. And when I feel like, you know, when I have a half hour, 45 minutes, I go out there and I just make shit up. But you know what I do all the time? I do the basics. I do squats, right? Do some lunges. I make shit up, right? I don't know what I'm doing. That's the beauty of the 5-minute flow. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's something.
Yeah, man. 5-minute flow is all about habit formation, behavioral psychology. And also, you know, one of the things I love about Bruce Lee is his idea of expressing yourself honestly. He has that idea, you know, if you can express yourself honestly, it's a really hard thing to do. But if you give yourself a 5-minute canvas and you just let your energy flow out and you kind of just go with the flow, you enter in that different state. You don't like worry about what you look like to other people, you know, that plus drinking water in the morning builds you not only something like powerful in your own heart, but it also starts up some actual momentum. You know, I really taken to studying physics recently because all of the equations about force, inertia, momentum, friction, speed, all that stuff. All of those apply to the behavioral sciences too. You experience inertia when you're still.
Right.
And inertia, physical and mental, have a feedback loop between one another. So if you can build some physical momentum in the morning, and people worry about doing exercises right, and there is an optimal way to like contact more joint surfaces to increase your proprioception. So there are things you can do, and I have a product that you can buy that will help make that like automatic for you. But just move. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just gotta move your stuff, and you build that momentum. And then every step you take after that is going to be like corrective exercise, versus if you didn't do something like that and you've just been totally still, maybe every step you take is just reinforcing some bad patterns that you haven't addressed. So the movement part is huge, just for getting your joints healthier, and also building some physical and mental momentum for your day. And the second piece of that puzzle is drinking water. It's one of those like silly things. I call it low-hanging fitness fruit.
Yeah.
We are much more like plants than we are like machines, but for some reason we treat human beings like machines. No, you need to make sure it has enough water. You need to make sure it has enough sunshine.
Yeah.
And positive attention. They've done, I actually did a science project when I was in school on the effect of magnets around plants, and the ones with the magnets around them grew a little bit more. And I didn't really have any conclusive findings, but then as an adult, I looked at all the research where they say nice things to plants and they grow more, and then they're like assholes to the plants and then they die. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird. So thoughts are definitely things, but you got to get those basics first, like staying hydrated. My God, it's one of the easiest things a person can do, and some people still just don't do it. So if you make that part of if you make it part of a habit, it doesn't have to be hard anymore. So everything I talk about with habit formation, ideally you want it to be anchored onto something that you already do. So if you anchor it onto something you already do, it's already got some substance there.
Yes.
And the idea is you want to have it be automatic. And I've actually started coming up with these like little codes you say to yourself, like every time I blank because blank. And it's this perfect little formula. So like every time I turn on the stove, I do dips or L-sits or handstands on the countertop. Every time. Because I appreciate how easy it is to make fire, and I appreciate my body enough to give it the nutrients it needs.
Wow.
So you start coming up with these phrases that will hone you in on not only what a good habit will be attached to something you already do, but also a powerful reason why. Just like what we were talking about before, you need, like your mom needs that powerful reason why. Why is she going to exercise? Well, do you want to go to Italy? Yeah, I do. I'm going to exercise. Like, it really is that simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And, I heard you talking about the 5-minute flow on Bledsoe's podcast, Mike Bledsoe. And I'm like, fine, I YouTubed it like probably a lot of people are right now. Right. And so I watch you do it and I watch you explain it. And here's my experience of the 5-minute flow. First of all, fucking love it. Right. What I do is I wake up in the morning. I usually wake up a good hour before my wife, so it gives me that quiet time. I go prep the coffee, turn on the coffee, I do my 5-minute flow, right? And what I found the struggle for me is I still want to fall into a routine in my 5-minute flow. I'm like, oh no, I missed a step. And then and I'm like, oh no, fuck it. Like we'll just go with it, right? Just start doing some stuff. And the best is when my wife walks out and she's like, wow, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just flowing, I'm just doing stuff.
Totally.
She's like, okay, I'm going back to bed. I'm like, okay, great. But the challenge for me was like, just because I come from such a structured environment growing up, right? Like, I swam, played water polo. I literally followed a black line up and down a pool for, 15 years, 20 years, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm just so used to that structure, and having to break free from that, just even if it's only in 5 minutes, and 5 minute flow always goes for 10, right? That's the beauty of it. Right? You just,
Momentum.
yeah,
Momentum.
it's great, man. And it's so
Yeah.
simple. Like the more time I spend on the planet, the more I get to talk to successful coaches or anybody who really truly understands something. It's that it all comes down to being able to boil it down to something simple that you can pass on.
Occam's razor. The simplest answer is always the best one.
Yeah, man.
I'm totally with you. You know, the whole idea of 5 minute flow for me was, how can I help people the most in the shortest amount of time?
Yeah.
So you gotta make it something you do in the morning, because that's where you can overcome that inertia the best.
Yeah.
Hydration's got to be a part of it, and actually it follows the ideal structure of a habit. You want to have a trigger, in this case, waking up.
Right.
Habit, 5 minute flow. Reward is the glass of water. So you want to bookend habits between a trigger and a reward to make it a little bit more automatic.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're programming yourself.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I wonder what people did before other people told them what to do. Whatever did we do before someone told us what to do?
I imagine it was food, play, water, sex.
Basically.
Right? I mean, what else would you do?
I guess that's kind of like what my life is like now most of the time. I'm just trying to simplify it down. That's basically all you can do.
Yeah. That's just,
it's fascinating.
Things got a lot more complicated somehow, right?
They don't actually need to be too complicated. Right. And I would be wary of anyone who tries to complicate things too far and split hairs over logistical details. Now, there are definitely optimal ways to lift a barbell over your head, do a handstand, things like that. And it would make sense to continue to refine your skills in those areas. But more importantly, like when I'm writing programs for people, which I don't even really do anymore, I'm just telling them how much time I want them to spend on what things. You know, okay, you do a 5 minute flow. You're going to be on that hill. You're going to do this for 20 minutes. You're going to go get a barbell and you're going to do this and this for 15 minutes. Right. And the 3 sets of the 3, or the 7 sets of 3, or the 3 sets of 7, or the 15 sets of 20, or all that stuff, you want to vary it. Sometimes do low reps, sometimes do high reps, sometimes do it slowly, sometimes do it quickly. And the most important thing is, what are you doing every day? Yeah. What are you actually doing every day? I mean, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger probably had more of an impact with exercise just telling people that the pump was like coming all the time than any of the actual exercises he taught people how to do in his book. Because if you get people excited about the idea of getting a pump, that's kind of enough. Does it really matter if their forearm was supinated 45 degrees or 90?
Right.
Not really.
No.
If you just have this idea in your head that the pump is good, hey, we can do something with that.
Yeah.
And it really falls into line with the idea of just like water will get stagnant if it doesn't move. Your blood's kind of the same way. So a lot of what I do is, how do I boil this back down to the most simple form of common sense possible, where it makes it silly to not do it? If I tell someone like, your blood is like a river, and the more you let it pool, the more stagnant and toxic it's going to be.
Right. Plain
and simple. Right. So if you want to move stuff around, guess what? You need to get a pump everywhere. Get a pump every day. It's as simple as that. How you do that? Go nuts. Put occlusion bands on your arms and do 18 different curl variations. Like, curls are great. Have fun with it. Yeah. But it's much more about the logistics first. And then, once you're actually doing a 5 minute flow every day for a month, then we can talk about things like going into my Ultimate Athleticism program, or, kettlebell essentials, or any of these more advanced training methodologies where you're specifically trying to be like, okay, I'm going to get really strong now. I'm going to get super athletic now. Yeah. And that's kind of the next level. Because, if you're just doing fitness for the sake of fitness, is probably not going to work out long term.
Right.
But if you take like the ultimate athleticism route and go, okay, I want to give myself the physical capacity so that I can fearlessly try any athletic endeavor for the rest of my life. That's something worthwhile, because I'll tell you what, there's no chance that I would be able to do my daily hoverboarding if it wasn't for the very solid foundation before that. So really, my idea of fitness is you want to just open doors for yourself to the maximum number of possibilities.
Yes. You just summed up my whole new definition of success or fitness right there.
Yeah.
Like that's it, man. I don't want opportunities, physical opportunities, life opportunities to pass me by because I wasn't physically able. And that, and I think coming from, I did a lot of program design, coming from the CrossFit world, athletes, non-athletes, whatever you want to call. And this need and this desire for coaches, especially younger ones, to make it so complex because you feel like I just want to show off what I know. Right.
Dude, you should have seen the programs I used to write. I needed like 3 legal pads just to put my program together. I'm like, okay, you got to activate this, you got to move this, and you got to do 3 reps of this, followed by 5 reps of this. Then you got to do 7 reps of this contrast training. And then, this set of exercises you're going to do in the sauna, and this set of exercises you're going to do in the steam. It's like, come on. Yeah. They're not doing that. Who are we bullshitting?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, like I would use Fitbot, and they'd be like, "You did all that because you checked all these boxes," and then it becomes like, right? And then it becomes like compliance, which that word always freaked me out. I was like, well, are they compliant with their workouts?
Yeah.
Like if the term compliance comes up, you missed the boat somewhere early on.
I give people 3 things and no more now.
Yeah.
My first meeting with someone, if someone's like, hey, I want you to help me with a plan, cool. Here's your 3 things. And guess what? I'm really disappointed with the amount of people who actually do all 3.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And the people who do those 3, they get 3 more.
Yeah.
And they make tons of progress just with those 3 things.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest lie is you need to do all this stuff and it has to be inside of a workout. No.
Yeah.
You just got to do the thing and show up every day.
Yeah.
And get like a really powerful meaning for it and make it a habit by having a clear trigger and a clear reward and trying to remove as many barriers as possible. Part of the reason 5-minute flow is so successful is I didn't require anyone to get equipment and I didn't require anyone learn anything.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I'm hoarding some secret information that you need. I'm like, no, man, like, here's the truth. Yes, there are some exercises that you might not know that I know, which would help you more. Who cares? Go express yourself through movement and do it every day. And 5 minutes, you can do a lot in 5 minutes.
Ton.
I mean, I think I've probably done like 100 burpees in 5 minutes, for example. So you can take that idea of 5-minute blocks and be like, okay, I did my 5-minute flow in the morning. I did one of my favorite drills to do is I grab a heavy sandbag and I do 5 squats, carry, 5 squats, carry for a total of 5 rounds. So I end up walking about like 500 feet and doing 25 squats all in one set. And it takes a few minutes.
Yeah.
And when I'm done with that, I'm done. I've done a lot of hard work. And if I come back and do that tomorrow, I'm good. Yeah. So you could conceivably do like 5-minute flow in the morning. You do your sandbag squat and carry. And then maybe in the evening before you get in the shower, you do some like push-ups and pull-ups or something like that, or push-ups and rows and, get it done. It doesn't take much.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. And, everyone who's been in the game for a long time, like I don't know if you know Andy Petronic, but we're friends and I follow him on social media and, he works out every day.
I think I've met him. I think I've met Andy.
Yeah, he originally started CFLA, does a whole life challenge now, but he's been around. He's got a podcast.
Cool.
He'd be great on the show. He just
link us up. That'd be great.
And they're like 12 minutes. He's like, yeah, I had 12 minutes, so I did this. And you know what? Like you can kick someone's ass in 3 minutes. The hardest workout I've done that it would still, when I think about it, it makes me a little nauseous, is 3 minutes, as many rounds you can do an AMRAP. of 3 chest to bar pull-ups and 3 burpees.
Totally.
As fast as you can go. And
Yeah.
tell me you don't want to just, like, you don't feel accomplished after that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, the simple stuff works, man. I love it. This is great. I feel like we could just go on forever.
Yeah, I could talk about this stuff all day. And, because we were talking about it, and, what does the future look like for Max? Like, what is Max Shank? What do you see in the next 2 years? Or are you just taking it day by day? Like, do you have a vision for where everything's going for you?
Man, I do. And all I can say is that I've got an invention coming that's pretty powerful stuff. That's taken a lot of my focus for the last year or so. And I'm going to continue doing the physical freedom mentorship retreats. It's a really powerful experience, and I love connecting with people. And then I'm really just going to continue to practice what I preach and put out that good quality information about, the 5-minute flow, simple shoulder solution, ultimate athleticism, these ideas that are based on such simple concepts, and really just helping people cut through the bullshit that they've been lied to. I mean, it's the same reason that in school you're fed this total BS about how everything needs to be really complicated. And none of it actually is complicated. Life is really simple. You just need to be a little bit more valuable than the amount you consume.
Yeah.
That's it. If you take, like, if I were going to talk to any younger people, like between 12 and 20, I would say, listen, it's really simple. Just make yourself extremely useful to someone older, smarter, and richer than you. That's all you got to do. They'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, it's so true. And I had the podcast that'll release before this one, it was with Joe Bauer, and he's got a podcast and all these things. And he's homeschooled.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's amazing. Like, I don't know about you. Did you go to college? Did you go to university?
I did. I stopped. I dropped out with 3 classes left.
Okay. Nice. I look back, I'm like, God, I would have rather spent that time going and just finding out how to be useful from someone older, richer, and more experienced.
Preferably happier also.
Yeah.
What I do now is I make it really simple. I look for people who are older than me, and if they're versions of myself that I would feel comfortable with, like, do I like how that guy is generally? Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Cause like, for example, I'm super into like business, and I like the idea of business, but I don't want to live like a Gary Vaynerchuk or something like that, who's just like this all the time. And you know what? Good for him. Everyone should do exactly what they want. But when you're selecting who you want to follow, who you want to learn from, who you want to emulate, because that's all we can do, right? We can pretty much just emulate stuff that we see. You got to choose very carefully who you want to emulate.
I think one point that I want to, interact there too, is I think when we talk about people that we follow and we're seeking mentorship and all this,
mm-hmm.
I've really opened up my thought of not necessarily looking for people who are physically older than me. There's so many people. I talked to Greg Justice, right? If you know that name, he's been in the industry forever. And I mean, it's such an interesting point of like, he doesn't care how old someone is, as long as it's something that he can learn,
Right.
And I think that's, I always look at like, okay, who's a little farther along the path?
The path, not further along the timeline.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I know you meant that. And I think that's an interesting clarification for people, because people.
No, I think that's really important. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to look for someone old. You got to look for someone who's happy and successful and, comfortable in their own skin and experiencing the things that you want to experience.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Well, dude, Max, man, this has been fun, dude. And I have to say, once again, just personally, thank you for the 5-minute flow, because I can't, like, people go check it out. Just start doing it. And then email Max.
So easy. Me. Hell yeah.
It's so great. It's,
I get people emailing me still. I got someone email me the other day. They go, I have been doing 5-minute flow every single day for 2.5 years.
It must make you feel amazing.
Dude, are you kidding me? I spent so much more time putting together my other programs.
Yeah.
And people don't do them that long. Nobody does a program for 2.5 straight years. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I couldn't even ski for 2.5 years straight. I think I would get bored eventually. So kudos to you, man, for making something that really, because I know you set out to truly make an impact on humanity. And it seems like, you boil down something so simple and you really kind of hit a home run, right?
Dude, thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, it's cool. So Max, where do people find you, man? Where do you send them right nowadays?
MaxShank.com has all the good stuff. And then I guess there aren't a lot of people with my name. So on social media, it's just at MaxShank on Facebook and Instagram, I guess, and YouTube also. You can find me everywhere, man. You search Max Shank into Google and it's 3 pages of me, and then everything else is a drill bit, because that's what a Max Shank is after a person. It's like Home Depot ads for these like gigantic drill bits. It's so funny.
Good for you. I wish Eric Malzone had something cool like that, but it doesn't. So
maybe it does.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. It's been great. Everyone go check out his 5-minute flow. Go check out Max's stuff. It's all good. It's all real.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate what you do. Keep it up.
Appreciate it. Hey, fitness fans, don't leave yet. It's your host, Eric Malzone, and I have a quick favor to ask. Actually, 3 favors. So, number 1, if you're a fan of our show, I ask you to do something that takes under 3 minutes. Go to iTunes, please, and subscribe to our show. Please, please, please. It means so much to us. It's so important. And then give us a favorable review. We would really, really appreciate it. And I can't tell you how much it means and helps us out. So I know it takes 2 minutes of your day, and it means a lot to us. So please do that. Number 2, go to our YouTube channel, our Fitness Marketing Alliance, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel there. Number 3, if you like this episode or any of the episodes that we've released, share it on social. That's huge. That's a big deal for us. And we put a lot of work into these episodes, trying to give you great actionable content for the fitness industry. So that would mean a lot. And that's it. So we have some big plans coming up for this show. I'll be talking about that in the next couple episodes. But thank you so much for listening. It means so much. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from everybody. Eric, ERIC, at fitnessmarketingalliance.com.